to make this change. Quickly before we get into it, don't forget to drop a like on the video. I know it probably doesn't seem like a whole lot on your end because it only takes a half of a second, but it makes a massive difference on my end of things because it helps the video get out to more people on YouTube and is very much appreciated. So if you do find this interesting, if you do think that exposing the Watchtower for all of their corruption and misguidance and doing horrible things in the name of God, if you find that to be irritating, drop a like on the video, consider subscribing, helps it get out to more people. Anyway, this is a podcast style Wally. If you're not familiar, there's two versions of me. Well, there's probably like 10 versions of me, to be completely honest, but there's a version of me where I don't really edit the video a whole lot. I just turn the camera on and I start talking. This time I did actually write down a couple of notes to hopefully organize my brain, kinda, sorta, so we'll see where this takes us. But I just wanted to, or I looked at a lot of the comments on the video and saw just like what people were saying on social media in general. And so I have like a couple of the ideas that seem to be popular, and then I have my own ideas about why the governing body decided to make this change. So first one, I thought we'd just knock out of the park, Derek Jeter style, right away, was they felt bad. Maybe the governing body had this clarity that comes with age and with time. And in this clarity, they see themselves for who they are and not who they think they are. And maybe they just felt really bad that there was a policy that was directly leading to people dying because of the words that they said, the commands that came down from the ivory tower, watchtower. Maybe they just said, you know what? You can't put a price on good sleep. And I can't sleep anymore, guys. Like, we have so many reports. They have this whole institutional hospital liaison committee where things get reported, so they know the loss of life that is on their hands as a result of this policy. And maybe they just felt bad about that. Another thing in this sort of sphere, I suppose, would be maybe with the leadership change that Watchtower has experienced with adding 4 new governing body members since the canning of Toni Morris. Maybe they have this righteous fervor to, really be led by God. You look at the history of Watchtower, and there's a bit of a pattern. You get Russell, and then that goes to Rutherford, and Rutherford's like, well, now we're really going to be led by God. And then Knorr comes along, and he's really going to be. And then you get the governing body from the 70s to the 90s, and they're really. And then you get this weird short time span. I think the shortest era of Watchtower's, like, I don't even know what you'd call it, but like these little time bubbles, if you will. I think like the shortest one of all of them is the JW broadcasting era, where they thought, okay, we're going to go into the new age and we're going to have all of the crazy, kooky ideas, but then we're going to modernize it so people have more access to these ideas and can make fun of us for it. Probably the shortest and worst time. I think that this is really hurt their image. But anyway, maybe this new crop of governing body members, or however you want to sort of configure that, maybe they just feel that they're really being led by God. And I think that this notion is dumb. I don't think that they feel bad. I am not particularly convinced that they see themselves as, well, now we're going to do the real being led. The more I look at Watchtower as a corporation and less as a religion, the more it makes sense to me. So, especially with them publicly saying, we don't have a need to apologize when we make mistakes. There isn't a need. When Jeffrey Winder said that at the annual meeting, everyone took it like, whoa, you don't need to apologize. So the person that is making the rules, the person that is responsible for making the error, that is the one that doesn't need to apologize, and you just so happen to be that person? Like, what type of narcissistic abusive relationship am I in here where you're telling me that you don't have to say sorry for the damage that you've done to me? When you reach that level of deterioration of your mirror neurons, it's just kind of something that neuroscientists have kind of tracked. When people gain power and money on a scale, they're the places in their brain that neuroscientists believe are the ones that light up when you're experiencing empathy. You have that fellow feeling with someone else. This shuts down on a scale with the more power and or money that you have. And I think Watchtower is experiencing the deleterious effects of their own power. I think they lack empathy, because when you're at the stage where you're saying, we don't have to apologize, I don't think that the reason that they are going to be getting rid of the major component of their blood doctrine is going to be that they feel bad. Now, the next one that is pretty popular is legal problems. Watchtower is being flooded with legal problems and lawsuits that they just need to make an adjustment or a change to this to get out from under that. And I don't really buy this one, because Watchtower historically has no compunctions about doing legal battles and fighting for their legal rights. And shockingly, they win more often than they lose these legal fights. And even specifically talking about their blood policy. This, believe in the 80s that this was a subject that came up in Japan, and then I want to say somewhere around like 2009 or something. Sorry, my Canadian XJW homies. I believe somewhere in that time zone there was another legal battle about people's right to not give a blood transfusion to their minor children. That's usually what surfaces around these legal problems, because if a person just wants to be crazy like the Christian Scientists or whatever and just not get medical help, I can't stop you, bud. I wish you wouldn't do that, but it is what it is. But when it comes to people's kids, that is more of a gray area with regard to how the state looks at it. Well, where does the state have to come in to protect a minor? And at what point is a minor considered capable of making an informed choice? Is that when they are 6 years old? Is that when they are 12 years old? Is that when they're 16 years old? And is it an age thing, or does the person or does the kid need to go and sit with a professional that can evaluate their cognitive sense? So all of these things have been talked about already, and they've been willing to fight these legal cases for their right to do these things. So I don't personally think, again, I'm not the authority on anything here, but I don't personally think that that would be a compelling enough reason for them to have so much egg on their face from changing this doctrine. And there's a simpler solution. I can't imagine that everyone at Watchtower is just so completely clueless, but I feel like if it was a legal issue, then it could be a back-end solution. It doesn't have to be Garrett Loesch, putting on his little 5-minute performance. You could just have you already have the infrastructure of the HLC. Maybe you just have those people who are already going and showing up to hospitals when people are going through procedures, where they know that it might create legal problems. You could inform individual Jehovah's Witnesses and say, hey, this is how the state's going to look at it, and there's going to be a lot of pressure. And so, we're not going to actually insist on not saving your kid or your minor kid or whatever the case is, because it's going to create those legal problems for us. And I feel like you could do that in a kind of sort of hush-hush way that wouldn't globally affect all of Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, maybe that's a little bit harebrained of me, but that's just an example off the top of my head of how maybe there's a back-end solution to fixing the legal problem with it. And it doesn't have to be like an in-your-face thing. They could make a couple of adjustments that no one would notice on their durable power of attorneys, a little blood card that they carry around with them. I just feel like there could be some type of back-end solution. So as far as I'm concerned, on a probabilistic scale, I don't think that one is very compelling to me. But hey, comment down below what you think in all of this, because I'm just one guy. There are thousands of people watching this that will all have a different opinion, and that's all okay. The one that is that I hate it here. That was the first note I wrote. And I just hate even thinking about this because it is so evil. And don't get me wrong, Watchtower is not incapable of doing these dastardly, disgusting acts of evil. Is what if a governing body member or someone that they care about, a family member, is sick and they don't have the coconuts to follow through with what they've been telling other Jehovah's Witnesses to do? This is like the dystopian, scary answer to the question, why? If this is true, if it's true, they have to do everything within their power to keep it a secret. But that also makes me think that it's probably not the case, and it's probably not true, because with HIPAA laws and everything, couldn't they probably keep it a secret anyway? Wouldn't they be able to keep it on the down low and not let anyone really know about it? How public was the sickness or the illness? How well known is? I'm talking like an elder now. Holy moly, that one took me back. But I do think that if it is this horrible situation where a governing body member or their family is sick and that's why they're changing it in a pinch, it would almost feel like they were trying to force people out of their religion, if that makes sense. I feel like you do that if you want people to leave, because if that becomes public, that yes, for decades, we told you that the only way to guarantee yourself a spot in the finale, sorry, watched Survivor last night, so if they were telling people that they can only guarantee themselves a spot in paradise if they sacrifice themselves or their kids, and then when it came time to show up or shut up, they shut up and said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I've talked with other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that have said as much, that if push came to shove and it was a decision that I had to make between my kid's life or my trust in the governing body, my kid's life is going to trump that. And I tend to believe that is the case with a lot of people, and they are well within their right to tell the HLC people to get lost. They're well within their right not to tell anyone what they do and what type of care that they seek, and just lie about it and say, hey, our kid's healthy now. We don't have to tell you, it's whatever. Or just lie.